Now, you wrote here, let me see, something you wrote here, 40, I think it's page 40, you titled it Making of a Classic.
Yes, sir.
When it rains, it pours. Twilight, or is it
Aurora?
Aurora.
Yeah.
Season 7, episode 21 of If It Tarries, Yet the Plot Thickens.
Yes, sir.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
So, what are you saying here?
I think I was in a time in my life that I was thinking in the primary way a lot of people were seeing things, which was in like the series on TV. So I tried to depict my time,
season
yes,
7, episode 21.
my time of life in seasons, in episodes, you know, and in plots.
In plots.
Yes.
Interesting. And then I must be all that for all these to beleaguer.
Yes, sir.
The shutters of my eyes quiver. A song stirs in my spirit. It's on continuous play. It stays till I'm comforted. I summon courage for yet another day. You poets are, like you said earlier on, very insightful.
Yes.
You don't allow life to pass you by, do you?
We see everything.
The rest of us allow life to pass us by.
We see all the details. We're very
So when you experience something, you sit down and think about it.
Yes.
And then you craft words to describe it.
Yes, and then you create from it. I don't let any experiences pass me by. I quickly, if there's a thought that comes, I quickly pen down, if it's just a line or two, and then build on it later.
The rest of us don't have time for that.
But that's why it's our job.
Money. Fantastic. Fantastic. So it's then you said around the corner is near. The fragrance called victory is stuck in my nostrils.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Who is your favorite poet?
Well,
Who has inspired you?
The Psalms.
The Psalms
in the Bible.
In the Bible.
Yes. And then
that's lovely poetry anyway.
yes, it's great poetry. It's verse, it's deep. I would say the Psalms primarily.
We don't have so much time, unfortunately, Femi. But what do you wish this will do? What's your objective with this? It's a very spiritually inclined.
Yes, it is. I hope it will help mend hearts. I hope it will change the way people see poetry. I hope it will change the way people see God. And I also hope it will travel so far that it becomes a coffee read, that it's always around, something that you could just go and pick up one and read. And then, you know, and it sets you for the day, more like a devotion.
It certainly looks like it and reads like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank
sir.
you, Femi. Nice to have you on Channels Book Club.
The pleasure is all mine, sir.
Thank you.
Efe Paul Azino, the producer of Nigeria's first spoken word poetry theatre production, Finding Home.
Hope is a Nigerian, I know, because
Our few minutes with Efe gets you wondering about what got him into poetry in the first place.
what got me into poetry, I think largely allowing other voices in my head. I've always read. I grew up in a house full of books. And you know, you read and you get to this point where you start to feel like, I can also write my own stories. I can also do this, you know. And I started out writing prose, actually, you know, prose fiction, short stories. But I realized that each short story I tried to write wanted to become a poem. And each poem I tried to write wanted to be performed, you know. So it just sort of happened, you know, that way. I still read more prose than poetry. The novel is still my most cherished form.
Poetry is not as popular as prose in Nigeria, but is there really a bias against it?
I wouldn't call it a bias against poetry, as it were. And it's not just in Nigeria. I mean, it's all over the world. Poetry is not a particularly easy form to access, you know, for most readers. And you realize that in most cases, most poets write in codes, you know, and most people don't have the patience or the cultural competence, as it were, to be able to decipher, you know, and break these codes, you know. So people generally shy away from poetry because it's difficult. So if I'm not reading poetry to pass an exam, I probably won't read poetry, you know, as something, you know, to enjoy for leisure, you know, or to extract wisdom, whatever it is, you know, people read for. You know, so it's not a Nigerian problem, and I don't think people have a bias against poetry. It's just that they don't find it readily accessible, which is why I think the performance element of it is very important.
Many of Ife's poems tend to speak to the multidimensional complexities and realities of Nigeria. One of them, Hope is a Nigerian, is published in For Broken Men Who Cross Often.
So I wrote a poem from the collection For Broken Men Who Cross Often. It's divided into 4 segments. They have interrupted narratives, failed experiments in form, love, and life, too long for Twitter, and art in the shadows of process. In the shadows of protest. This is taken from the last section. It's called Hope is a Nigerian. About 40% of our children are trained in public institutions where the students have no desk to sit on. 1/3 of our university graduates are hardly literate, yet she argues her future is bright. Hope is a Nigerian. At night she powers our homes with generators and leaves before the morning light beats the traffic. Our roads a sorry sight. It's pathetic what she has to put up with, yet she suffers and smiles. Hope is a Nigerian. You see, she hardly flinches when she announces she's the giant of the continent, its largest producer of oil, but 90% of its proceeds are controlled by 1/10 of the population, while the others drink off the sweat that flows from their tireless toils. Everything in the natural seems to have failed her. So she seeks the supernatural for help. She prays for security and she prays for health. She prays for wealth and she prays for bread. She prays for peace, begging God to keep her disparate tribes together, even if by the string of a thread. Hope is a Nigerian, so she prays. Hope is a Nigerian, so she stays the bloody revolution that beckons. Hope is a Nigerian, therefore I reckon in the not too far distance awaits her change, because the good book says hope makes not ashamed. So let Nigeria hope and let Nigeria pray. Let Nigeria fight and let Nigeria say the substance of our hope someday shall be. Hope is a Nigerian, I know, because hope lives in me.
We'll take a brief break now, and when we return, we'll give you some announcements, take some interesting readings, and call it a wrap.